It was intriguing because she was an 81-year-old former magistrate and she's facing jail time because she is a terrorist. This video is about learning to say yes. Yesterday I did a shoot that I said yes to, and it was for a newspaper. And I've been working for years from the covers of Time magazine to Vogue. So shooting for a newspaper was kind of, I was sort of out of my comfort zone, different skill set. I was trying to keep this time free because I was going to be spending time with my partner and her daughter. She was coming down. I was asked by the Observer to go and photograph this lady, and it was by the seaside. So I thought I could kind of merge the two things. And, my partner is lovely. And so she went along with being my assistant for the day, as did her daughter.
Amazing. Did they get paid?
No, they got paid. Well, they got paid in ice cream.
Okay.
We reached an understanding. But it was intriguing because she was an 81-year-old former magistrate called Deborah Hinton, and she's facing jail time because she is a terrorist. She's part of Palestine Action, or she was demonstrating in Truro Cathedral with a placard that referenced Palestine Action, which has been prescribed as a terrorist organisation. It's sort of actually chilling the way that free speech is being kind of eroded because she now is terrified that she could end up going to jail. You know, her world has been turned upside down. I was expecting her to be kind of savvy and cynical and aware that this was getting publicity for Palestine in her view. And instead, she was quite frightened, and she admitted to me that she was waking up in the middle of the night, terrified that she was going to be arrested. I just think whatever your position is with regard to the whole Palestine issue, you should be able to protest in a democracy. And so I would defend her right to the hilt to take her stance. And she's basically been someone who's served her community, served wider society her whole life, and so to find herself in this predicament was quite shocking.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Do you want to go through the pictures? So this is the first image. This was as I arrived, and she was still kind of, I think, slightly shell-shocked by what had happened to her. You know, she'd had a kind of torrid time and was absolutely terrified. And we sat down and we just had our coffee, and I realised that she was a melody of different tones of blue, the blue sofa, the blue painting in the background, sort of naive art. All the interior decoration was kind of referencing blue. So you kind of work with what you've got. It's slightly backlit, but the light in her house, which was perched on the top of this cliff, was extraordinary. So you could really play with available light. I brought along a load of LED lights, but I didn't use any of them. I just used the light that was there. There she is smiling. This was a sort of landscape version of the same shot. I came on as a bit more square onto her. One thing that you should learn, one thing that's really important if you're shooting for magazines or indeed newspapers, is don't shoot everything portrait shaped. Shoot some portraits, shoot some landscape.
But does that also apply for newspapers?
It applies for everything. You want to basically ensure that they have some versatility in how they use the pictures. So they could crop off the sides here, or they could basically use it landscape, or in fact they could crop it vertically. I mean, I don't really like people cropping my pictures. It's better to do it in the camera.
Yeah.
But, you know, I gave them a variety, some portrait and some landscape shape.
Did you say that one was your favourite?
No, I'll come to that. This was her a sort of shrine to her relative, who was one of the first, I think, led the charge of the Light Brigade. So she's a very historically significant family that she was from, and she had this sort of aristocratic bearing. So if I zoom in, you can sort of see she had this wonderful sort of profile that's very kind of noble.
What makes that a noble profile?
I don't know. It's sort of like an instinctive thing, isn't it?
Okay. You're just waffling.
I'm waffling a little bit, but there you are. This is my favourite. I just like the simplicity of it. And as you can see, that there's lots of shades of blue there. But I like the fact that there's an anxiety there. But
Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, but there's also sort of a kind of belligerence and power to her. As you can probably tell, I really liked her. This is the edit I gave to the newspaper, which they were very happy with. So it's another portrait shot, sort of slightly backlit. She had the most extraordinary eyes. You can sort of see sort of
Blue again.
blue eyes, yeah. And then this is actually a better one to zoom in on. You can see those eyes.
Are these post edit or?
I haven't really done much to them. Yeah, I don't tend to do that much.
You say not much to them. What have you done?
I'll just sort of burn in the corners a little bit. I'll sort of look at the emphasis of where the eye. When you're looking at a portrait, you tend to go to the eyes. You tend to look at the eyes, and so I sort of pay attention to sharpness where it should be sharp. But it should be there in the camera, really.
And where should it be sharp? So face and
if the eyes I always focus on people's eyelashes. But I mean,
the eyelashes.
yeah, as soon as you have a formula, as soon as you start behaving dogmatically, that's the time to sort of break those rules. And so, I make them and make these have these little things that are going on in my subconscious, but then I'll just change my mind. So this was an environmental portrait, again, lots of blue, and there's a sort of I framed her within the sort of light that was coming through this glass door, and then you can see the sea in the backdrop of that. This extraordinary location. It was like being in a dream. I mean, she was actually in the process of selling the house, and it was going to be
beautiful home.
Yeah, I think someone bought it, and they were just going to knock it down and create this glass and steel kind of monstrosity, which is sort of quite
ultra
sad.
modern, contemporary.
Yeah, absolutely. She had a sort of shepherd's hut in her garden that she was Airbnb, which was
it's a good location for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kay and I suggested that maybe we could do a deal, stay in the hut for a few of the images.
A print or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's agreed to that.
She agreed.
She did. So
that's a classic Harry move right there.
Yeah, I do like a deal, a quid pro quo, something for something. So this was sort of you can sort of see that it's an environmental portrait.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you want to get something simple and strong.
So were you aware that, well, obviously you're aware it's going on a newspaper, but did that change your technique?
No, I feel that irrespective of where the pictures are going to be published, it's important to just do what you do. And so, I was pleased when I didn't get any pushback. I made sure that I gave them a good variety of pictures because you don't know the tone of the interview and roughly what they're trying to say, but you want them to have some degree of flexibility as to how they convey what it is that their point is, which is quite straightforward. The point is that, it's a freedom of speech issue, and this is a kind of ridiculous situation.
Yeah.
And then I did some stuff outside, but by the time we were shooting outside, we drove down, we arrived at 11, we did the interior shots. By the time we got outside, the sun was high in the sky. It was absolutely terrible light. But I shot the pictures anyway, and we're back to the first one.
Lovely. Thank you for bringing us through that, Dad.
Yeah, well, my pleasure.
And
all shot with a Fuji GFX, digital camera, and all shot with available light.
So how much did you get paid?
Well, the rate wasn't that different to the magazine. So, it turned out I didn't do it for the money, but I more than covered my expenses, and it got me to the seaside with my girlfriend and her daughter.
So you had an ice cream and enjoyed the beach.
We did. We had a little dip.
So £300 is your standard, right?
Yeah, it was 300 and something and change.
300 and change to shoot her, and you'd also get 300 and change to shoot Scorsese.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. I mean, that's the thing with Editorial. You're not doing it for the money. you're doing it because you want to add to your body of work. So it doesn't really matter who you take pictures for. As long as you're true to yourself and you produce something good, then you're kind of, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it, I think,
Mm.
and life in general.
Absolutely. Be true to yourself and say yes to things that maybe say yes to things that kind of a kind of a boring voice is sort of saying, that you shouldn't be doing that. If you want to do it. And quite often it might lead somewhere interesting.
Yeah, like a free Airbnb stay.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Cool.
In October.
All right, cool. Yeah, great. I think that's good. It's crazy to think she's a terrorist.
Yeah. Anyway, hopefully in the coming weeks she'll be released, and she'll be hopefully in the coming weeks she'll be unburdened from this unnecessary stress and anxiety.